Canadian politics has been on a knife's edge for the past couple years. Not long ago, it looked like the country was heading for an easy handoff from a deeply unpopular Trudeau government to a dominant Pierre Poilievre led conservative one. But everything changed the moment Trudeau stepped down. Mark Carney stepped in, the Liberals rallied, and against all odds, they held on to power. A result almost nobody thought was possible. And now we're in a different landscape. The Liberals and Conservatives are locked in a national stalemate, both strong, both competitive, and neither able to break away. So, how did we get here? And what does this deadlock mean for Canada's future? To start, let's look at the polls. Most major pollsters currently show the Liberals polling at 42%, holding a narrow 2-point lead over the Conservatives, who are polling at 40%. This margin has barely moved since September, so currently, both parties are stuck and are having a hard time gaining any ground. So, what could finally break this deadlock? I think there are three major possibilities. First would be a change in conservative leadership. While Poilievre remains extremely popular within his conservative base, boasting a favorability rating of 78%, he continues to face a major problem with the broader electorate, with 60% of Canadians viewing him unfavorably. So, with that, it's not surprising that Poilievre's personal popularity appears to be holding back the Conservatives in the polls. His appeal energizes the core, but it doesn't expand to the voters the party needs to win and to break the stalemate. And with losing the 2025 election to Carney's Liberals, the question becomes even more a reality. What happens if the Conservative Party decides Poilievre can't win a general election? If the party were to replace him with a leader who appeals more to swing voters, someone seen as a steadier, more moderate, or simply less polarizing, it could break the current political deadlock. And if Carney struggles to deliver what the Canadians want, the opening for a refreshed Conservative Party could draw back swing voters. Number 2, economic victory. An economic win for the Carney Liberals would break the deadlock. If Canadians start to feel a real financial relief, the Liberals would likely surge in the polls and surge fast. But Carney inherited Canada in the middle of a serious economic crisis. Housing is increasingly unaffordable, the cost of living keeps climbing, and productivity growth has stagnated. And these are just a couple of the issues. So let's now take a look at what polling says for Canadians' concerns. And looking at polling, it consistently shows that economic concerns dominate the minds of Canadians. When people were asked to choose the three most important issues from the 7 priorities that Carney laid out at the start of his term to be focused on, the top 3 were all economic. Number 1 being lowering the cost of living, number 2, making housing more affordable, and number 3, unifying and strengthening the Canadian economy. So, what has Carney actually done to respond? His biggest move so far was the 2025 federal budget bill, a budget many hoped would restore confidence in a struggling Canadian economy. In essence, it's the government's entire financial blueprint for the year ahead. I won't break it down here, but in broad strokes, this budget pours investment into these areas: housing, productivity, and defense. The bill also focuses on the long-term goal of rebuilding growth while still trying to stay fiscally responsible. Now, grading a budget is always subjective. Everyone has different priorities and no single budget can please every group. But there are early signs of how Canadians feel. So, that being with 37% of Canadians saying that the country is heading in the right direction, compared to 48% who think it is going in the wrong direction. That might sound rough, but it's actually an improvement from before the bill, when only 31% said Canada was on the right track. So Carney is making some progress, just slowly. And that's the challenge. Economic recoveries take a long time, But if Carney can build on this small momentum, stabilize the economy, and give Canadians even a hint of financial recovery, the stalemate will be broken. Number 3, Carney's centrism becomes his downfall. Under Carney's leadership, the Liberal Party has distanced itself from Trudeau's more left-leaning agenda. And while the shift may appeal to some, it also takes political risks. I like to think of it through the lens of Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Obviously, it's not a perfect one-to-one comparison, but I believe it applies to politics quite well. When a party moves in a certain direction, let's quickly visualize it by using the Canadian political spectrum as a crude example. There's almost always a reaction somewhere else on the spectrum. And Carney's move towards the center picks up the red Tory support that Poilievre would need to win an election, but the reaction to that is potentially losing support on the left. People who would view climate issues as a big issue will now look at the NDP or Bloc voters instead of the Liberal Party. This is the most hypothetical scenario of all the possibilities I've outlined, and I don't have hard data to prove it, but there are already early signs that this may start to play out, as Stephen Guilbeault has resigned as member of Carney's cabinet. Guilbeault stepped down in response to Carney signing an MOU with Alberta to potentially advance a new pipeline project. For Guilbeault, this is a line in the sand and something he cannot get behind. He argued that moving forward with a pipeline would have serious environmental consequences and push Canada further away from its greenhouse gas reduction targets. Even with this, there hasn't been any drop in Carney's favorability over the issue as of yet. But if this project keeps making advancements, people will be forced to make tough decisions, and it would not be surprising to see more people take the stance Guilbeault took. Thank you for watching my first video on Canadian politics. This is a topic I am really invested in, and I hope you'll stick around for more. One quick note before I go. I always try to keep my analysis as unbiased as possible and rooted in data. In a time where politics can feel more like supporting a sports team, where people defend parties no matter what, I think it's important to step back and look at what's really going on in an unbiased manner. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.